Hi everyone, welcome to a video lecture or a video talk and a presentation about what it means to be a connected educator. Now we've talked a little bit about that in class, and your RILE assignment is kind of focusing on this, but we haven't really had a chance to talk about what it means to be a connected educator or why we'd even want to do that. And some of the things that we've selected for our RILE assignment, some of us are doing Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, some of us are blogging for the first time, and these are all ways that we can actually be connected educators. So we're going beyond just our own kind of personal scope and our personal kind of space and engaging with other people and sharing resources online. Well, the first question perhaps is why network as an educator? David Weinberger has a great quote, and we may have heard something similar to it, like, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And that quote has kind of shifted a lot. You don't have to be the smartest person, and then sometimes you had to be the smartest person. And now, as a network of people and as a network of educators and professionals, it's even shifting more to being more about the room. I'm just going to read this quote for you, and you can read along with it. As knowledge becomes networked, the smartest person in the room isn't the person standing in front of the lecture at the front lecturing us, and it isn't the collective wisdom of those in the room. The smartest person in the room is the room itself, the network that joins the people and ideas in the room and connects those outside of it. So it's not even the people anymore, it's the room. And we sometimes say the answer is in the room. And the answer is in the room because of the collection of ideas. If we weren't in that room, the answer wouldn't be there. And this may sound a bit weird, as we're just trying to get into the idea of teaching and educating, and why do I need to connect? I need to connect with my students. And while that is true, we also need to make connections as a professional. The connections that we make outside of our classroom are so important. And some of us are making those connections. We're starting to find just these wealth of resources on Twitter, on Pinterest, on these different social medias that we're using. We're starting to follow some people, and we're starting to follow some educators. Perhaps when I'm back, we'll talk more about Twitter and some of these other social media tools that we can use, and people that we might want to follow or might kind of start a lead and give us a kind of a connection of who we can follow. Well, ways of connecting. Before social media and before internet and before we had these ways of connecting, our network was quite small. Being a network teacher meant that you were involved with your colleagues. You conversed with them. You had your family, your local community, your church community, whatever groups we were part of. We networked with print and digital resources. We would go to conferences. That would be the big way that we as teachers and educators would often get our professional development. We had curricular documents, and that was about it. We didn't have a lot of other connections to make. It was up to our own kind of work and our own ways of creating things, and also kind of getting outside of our classroom. We would take courses. There wasn't a lot of learning kind of on an ongoing basis. It was usually fairly top down. You had PD days, and the PD day was about assessment, or the PD day was about the newest ministry initiative, or the PD day was about a new style of learning that admin wanted teachers to look at. Well, now it's much more of a bottom-up approach. Whereas a professional, I can take the interests that things that I'm interested in, I can look those up, and I can combine my interest as a bottom-up, as somebody in the classroom, and I can combine that with some of the top-down stuff that we have. I think now with the bottom-up and the top-down, we have this great way of professional development that not only serves the school well, but also serves the educator well. And in our documents and our curricular documents, I think I chatted about this on the first night, how as a teacher we had a binder, and the binder was kind of gold. We held on to it. We didn't share it well. If somebody wanted to borrow something, they had to go and photocopy it. We never really let it leave our site. But now we're looking at some of these other ways to be connected. Video conferencing. Skype is becoming more popular. FaceTime. The use of blogs. The use of wikis. Podcasts. Twitter is becoming a big one. Social network sites. Photo sharing sites like Flickr. Popular media. YouTube channels. Where all these educators are now starting to create and share. And not just share successes, but share failures. We're going away from having that book guarded so much. So going away from having our curricular documents guarded so much and being worried about being correct and being right. And now we're moving into the space of, well, here it is. Have a look at it. Use what you can. If you want, don't use it. But here's what I do. And here's what I'm using. Some of the benefits of being connected. And for some of us in this class, some of the benefits of being connected may also look really well on a resume or look really well in an application or an interview. When we're saying, oh yeah, I've been doing some social networking, I've been using Pinterest for education, I've been using Twitter for education, and it shows that we are taking extra steps to go ahead and continually develop ourselves. So some of these benefits of being connected. The idea of shared resources. Being able to share things with Google Documents in a Google Drive or a Dropbox and being able to work collaboratively on things. We get to model collaboration for our students. We get to participate in it and actually help our students understand what it is like to actually work together and work collaboratively on things. Being part of a community, and this one sounds kind of weird because I'm part of a virtual community or I'll call it a PLN, a professional learning network, and I'm part of that network, but I really don't know people. And there's also kind of hierarchies in that network, that people that know people a little bit better and actually have a face-to-face relationship with them. But there are also people that I know I can turn to online, get information, and I can really trust their input and trust the sources that they're giving and also trust their professionalism. Another benefit is having almost unlimited resources. I have access to hundreds of other educators through the networks that I'm a part of. And again, for me, I'm mostly using Twitter. And I use Twitter. I'm starting to use a little bit of Google+, and I have used Blogger, but Blogger has been more of a way for me to share things. I'm not even sure if people look at my blog or people have checked things out, but those are ways that I can share resources and find resources. One of the biggest benefits for me, and I think for all educators, is the idea of professional growth. The fact that I can look things up, I can continue to dive and dig deep into some of the resources that I want to look at, and also stay fairly current in educational topics. I chatted a little bit about professional learning networks already. And also moving from literacy to the idea of fluency. So I'm not just being illiterate or knowing just how to use these, but I'm learning how to be fluent in using those resources. I want to talk a bit about the ISTE standards too. And the ISTE standards were one of the presentation topics. Nobody picked the topic, so it gives me a nice chance to chat about it. I'm going to look at the teacher standards. First of all, ISTE stands for the International Society for Technology and Education. If you ever get the chance, they do a great conference. It's one of the biggest educational conferences and educational tech conferences that you'll ever attend. It's usually held in the States. But I'm going to look here at, first of all, teacher standards and then the essential conditions. In the teacher standards, there are these 5 standards that they have. So the first one, facilitate and inspire student learning and creativity, all regarding technology. Design and develop digital age learning experiences and assessment. Model digital age work and learning. Promote and model digital citizenship and responsibility, and engage in professional growth and leadership. A few that I want to specifically look at. 1C is promote student reflection using collaborative tools to reveal and clarify students' conceptual understanding and thinking and planning, and also to model collaborative knowledge structures and construction. So we are modeling the things that we desire for our students to have. Looking further down at 3B and C, so again, collaborating with students, peers, parents, and community using digital tools and resources. And communicate relevant information and ideas effectively to students, parents, peers, and using a variety of sources. And then number 5, participate in local and global learning communities to explore creative applications of technology. Exhibit leadership by demonstrating a vision of technology infusion. Evaluate and reflect on current research and professional practice on a regular basis, and contribute to the effectiveness, vitality, and self-renewal. Those are some pretty big things for us to start to wrestle with. And I don't know if those are possible for us to do, especially on a global scale, without us participating in technology. And I also don't know if it's possible for us to connect with parents as easily in a more traditional way. Going back to our show, you'll see here that there are also these essential conditions. And the essential conditions we're looking at, and you can have a look at these on your own, but we are looking at engaged communities. We are looking at the technical support that we need and empowered leaders, so stakeholders at every level to become leaders in effecting change. So these are some of the essential conditions that we need to be able to effectively leverage technology for learning. And if we think back to some of these other things that we had, we do need those types of conditions to be able to do and meet some of these expectations and some of these standards that ISTE has for us. We looked at this picture earlier and we talked about how we can connect and different ways of connecting. Social bookmarking is something that not a lot of people make use of, but there are a number of social bookmarking sites. Delicious used to be one, Digio used to be one, where people can start to say, here's my good resources, go ahead and use them. And it's kind of like what we're trying to do with our internet and tablet apps assignment. As we are kind of gathering all these resources, we are gathering them together, we are doing a little write-up, and we're sharing them. We looked at some of these already. Wiki Spaces is a great way for us to collaborate and do things creatively together. Blogs like Blogger and some of the other blogs, I think even Tumblr could be considered a blog. There's also Glogs, which is a graphical blog. There's Vlogs, video blog. And we are looking at a number of these different things. So social networking sites, we've got Facebook, we can have Twitter's down here, we could look at Pinterest, any ways that we can connect. So we're starting to find a lot of these resources. Well, what tool is going to be right for you is really going to depend on you. You can't do it all. As much as we want to perhaps try a number of these, we can't do them all. I'm going to suggest you start small and you find one or two tools that you think will work for you. This graphic is overwhelming. I invite you to take a look at it. You can click on the link here and take a look at it another time. Actually, the link will be up on our discovery page. But take a look at it. Look at all the different things that are in here. Look at how many you even recognize and try to find out what some of these do. Some resources and some things to read. Here's some quick little blogs and posts and short articles that I invite you to read. I want to highlight a couple of my favorite educators and tech educators who I think are really good people to follow and read. Alec Krauss, he's a professor at the University of Regina. He is excellent and makes lots of videos and lots of tools for social media and also how to use technology in education. Andrew Miller writes for Edutopia, is part of the Buck Institute for Education, and does some other great things. He's very connected. A lot of the tips that are on here and the ideas for us to start, they really suggest that we start small. Find one thing that we can do and start small. This is a real quick kind of walkthrough on this, but hopefully it gives you an idea of how to start and some things that you can start with in becoming a connected educator.